Alright, so let's take a look at this scenario. I have this page here. As you can see, I have a form where I can add a new employee. Now, what if I want to add multiple employees? One solution would be to have a fixed amount of the number of employees that we can add. So let's say 2. In that case, all I have to do is to go to my code, copy this code, this part right here, paste it, save, go back, and now we have a second form. But again, we can only add 2 employees. So this is not very dynamic, as you can see. Now, suppose we want to make this more dynamic. Let's say that by pressing this button right here, we add a new form, and by pressing this button right here, we remove the form from the DOM. So how can we solve this problem? One solution is to use the old and extremely bad jQuery. It will require a lot of work and the code will not be that readable. So let's go ahead and use Vue JS for this scenario. So let me close Sublime Text because we are going to use Visual Studio Code, and I will open this, open folder, and we are right here. Okay, so I'm going to create a new file, index.html, and I will pull Bootstrap, so Bootstrap CDN. We are going to use Bootstrap 4 for this case. So Bootstrap, go right here, click that. And then we are going to use the Bootstrap 4 beta version. So the CDN is right here. So just copy the CSS file and go back, paste it. Excellent. Now we also have to pull Vue JS. So Vue JS CDN. And we are right here, and make sure you do not pull the minified version, because the minified version cannot actually run the Vue Dev tools. So we want to pull the full version, not the minified one. So script, src, excellent. Now we need a container, so div container, and I will create a button for the new employee button, so btn success, and I will add some margin to the top and some margin for the bottom. Okay, the text is new employee. Now we also need a card, so down here, div card, I will add some margin bottom because we are going to need it later when we have multiple forms, multiple cards. So card, margin bottom 3, and now we need the body for the card, so card body. And we are going to add a span, we will float it to the right. So we need just the X character here. So this is the close button for us. And for the style, I want to have a cursor, a pointer. Okay. So if we try this, just to take a look at what we have. So if I go here, I open this, you can see that we have this new employee button. Okay. Let me go back to the code, because the card should be inside the container and not outside. Now it looks better. So I will continue, and we are going to need inside the card body, we need a card title, so h4 card title, and we can say add employee, and I also need the index, not for now, but later. So here we will add the index for the form, and you will actually see later how this looks. So next we need a div employee form, and here I will add the input. So we have 2 inputs and 1 text area. So input, this one has a form control and a margin bottom of 2. So is this correct? Yes, it is. The placeholder will be name. And let me copy this. So this one now will be actually it will be job, not age. So this one is job, and then we have the other one is the text area. So text area, we actually do not need a name or an ID. and we just need a placeholder about. Okay, so now if I go back, you can see that we have this full form and we need the class form control for the text area. Okay, excellent. Again, the idea is to click this button here and create a new form, and click this one to remove the form, or better say, to delete it from the DOM. So let's start with Vue now. So back to my text editor, I will go down here and create a new script and create a new Vue application. So new Vue, and now we are ready. So the element will be the container. So everything is inside the container, as you can see. So now we also need some data. So the data, we have the employees. So the employees will be an array. By default, we are going to have one employee without name or job or whatever. So everything is empty. Okay. So the idea is that each employee will be an object in this employees array. So let's go back and use vModel in order to get some two-way binding. Now, if you do not remember what two-way binding is, then make sure you watch the previous videos on Vue JS. So I will expand this and I will bind vModel employees.name here and vModel employees.job, and of course the about. So the about will be right here. About. Okay. Now if I save and I go back to the browser, you can see that this will not work. We do not get any two-way binding. So if I go to my root, we have the object, I start typing. However, nothing changes in our data, so it is not dynamic yet. And the reason is because our employees, it is not a single object, it is an array of objects, which means that we have to loop through each employee in order to get some two-way binding in this case. So what I'm going to do is to loop right here in my card, so v4 employee, and I also want the index in employees. So employees is our array, and we loop through each object inside this array here. So now we can simply take out the S, so it is employee and not employees, and we can also print the index here, because we get the index from this code right here, from the loop. Okay, so if I save and I go back to the browser, take a look now. First of all, we have the index, which is 0, and then if I start typing, you can see that the data is reactive. And by the way, if I click new employee, for now nothing happens, and this is because we do not have yet the code for that to work. So what I'm going to do now is to go right here, add click, we want to call a method. So the method will be named add new employee form. So let's create this method. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this case is, it's a very simple actually. I will just get my employees array and I will push a new object to this array, like this. If by default you want some data, for example, you want a predefined name, then you can just have the name here, like this. But I will keep this simple and I will not have any predefined name or job or about. Okay, save this, go back, reload, and take a look. You click new employee and you get a new form. You click new employee again and you get another form. So now we have 3. And all of them are unique because take a look at the index. This is the form with index 0, form with index 1 and 2. Which means that if I open my Vue DevTools and I go to the root, we have 3 objects. And if I start typing to the 0 object, so Renato, software developer, about me, you can see that everything here changes. It is very dynamic. And if let's say that we omit the form with index 1 and we go straight away to the form with index 2. So let's say John Doe, whatever, and about. So you can see now that the form with index 1 is omitted. It has no data because everything was added to the form with index 2 and 1. Sorry, I mean 0. Okay, excellent. And let's take a look at the Vue JS code, because there is no magic here. Even if, this looks pretty cool and difficult and all that, it is very simple. So what we have a loop here, right? So we have a loop, and this loop will create all this code here. Whatever is inside this card, this div card, it will be created, including, of course, the div card, margin bottom 3, etc., etc. So we loop, in this case, 3 times. So this code here will be created 3 times. So there is no really magic. We just have a loop and we create the same code again and again. And of course, because this is an object, this is actually an array, and we get an object of employee, we can access the attributes like name and job and about. So everything is unique. So the reason why we need the index is because I also want to remove the form from the DOM. So when I click the X button right here, I want this form to be deleted. So let's do that. I will go right here in the span and I will say @click call a method delete employee form. And I am going to pass the index, because the index is like an identifier for this object, for this form. So now let's create this method. So inside here, okay. So again, we need the index, and the code for the removal of the form is very simple. We again get the employees array, and we call this splice function, the JavaScript function, and we pass the index, and we want to remove 1 item. Okay, so now if I go back to this, everything is the same, right? However, if I click here, let's take a look at the console actually. Oh yeah, we have to reload, of course. So I reload, let's create again 3 forms, so 0, 1, and 2. So name 1, job, actually this is name 0. So name 0, job 0, and about 0. Name 2, job 2, and about 2. So again, we omit the form with index 1, and we have data just for the form with index 0 and 2. So if I go here and I click this form, this button, you will see that the form with index 1 actually was deleted, and now we have forms with index 0 and 1 again. So what happens here is that Vue JS will recalculate everything, because what we need is an array. And of course, an array, it has a sequence. So it is 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. So even if we deleted the object with index 1, the array was recalculated, and now we have again 0 and 1. However, that empty form was deleted, and we are left with name 0, job 0, name 2, job 2, etc., etc. And of course, we can create another form, and let's delete this one, and we are left with the empty form.